It was Thor's day, as near as Sigyn could tell. She had no calendar, but usually a rumbly, brooding sort of atmosphere filled the cave on a Thor's day. She had come to be pretty good at seeing the difference in days down in the cave where her husband, albeit greatly against his will, resided. Hel came to visit on Thor's day. Sigyn looked forward to those visits, though frankly she wasn't all that fond of Loki's bastard daughter. No one really was, but it broke up the day. After so many days, Sigyn had come to appreciate that. Hel peeked around a bend in the tunnel. "Hello, Sigyn." Hel looked tired. Being tired would probably make her irritable. Not that any of Loki's offspring had ever needed much excuse for that. "Hello, Hel. Come to visit your father?" Hel walked out into the chamber. Sigyn no longer winced at the girl's black and blue complexion. One got used to that. Otherwise, she was a tall, skinny thing with just enough of the height of her giantess mother to make her too tall for the slimness she got from her father's side of the family. Slightly built Loki had never been a particularly strong god, even in his prime. Thor could have snapped him like a twig. Sometimes Sigyn wondered why he hadn't. The Vanir and Aesir alike knew Loki had given the thunder god enough provocation. Sigyn didn't wonder long. She knew the reason. Fate, weird, destiny, all the words for the way things had to be. It wasn't Thor's destiny to kill Loki. Thor had other eels to fry, as did Loki for that matter. Or so the Norns had said. "Father looks better today," Hel said. "No, he doesn't," Sigyn said, as another drop of poison dripped down from the serpent's mouth. Drip. Hel glanced up at the serpent on its tree. A tree that had no business being where it was, and yet was, because it needed to be, to hold the serpent that dripped the venom down into Loki's bound form, or would have if not for Sigyn's intervention with her bowl. Sigyn glanced down at her husband. Loki's eyes were open. His limbs were bound by iron chains formed from the entrails of his butchered sons. Her sons, too, Sigyn remembered, though it was hard. She tried to remember their names and failed. "I can't even remember their names," she said aloud. Hel looked confused. "Loki?" Sigyn shook her head. "No, someone else, a long time ago." Hel sat down on a stone fairly close, but far enough away to avoid a splash should there be one. "Has he spoken?" "No, child." Sigyn rather doubted that Loki could speak any more. One look into her father's wild eyes should have told Hel that much. There had been little to Loki to begin with except mischief and well-concealed rage. Now the mischief was gone and rage was all that remained, and not well-concealed at all. "I'm no child," Hel said. "I am queen of the underworld and lady of the dead." Because no one else wants to be, Sigyn thought. Well, the Aesir had regretted that detail soon enough when Woden's dear son Balder came under Hel's control. "You're his child," Sigyn said aloud with as much diplomacy as she could muster. She didn't want to anger Hel unnecessarily. She would miss their visits if she pushed the girl too far. Not that she had meant insult. Sigyn just couldn't help thinking of Hel as a child, despite her immortality. What the years didn't touch, the years didn't teach. As for herself, well, she had other lesson masters to lean on. "Not your child," Hel said pointedly. "For which I'm a bit sorry," Sigyn admitted. "I would have loved to have a daughter. Or any child still living," she thought, but didn't say. "Even a monster like you." Somewhat mollified, Hel leaned back on the stone a bit. "They're talking about you, you know," she said. Sigyn steadied the bowl, which was heavy and in danger of tipping. "Who is they, if I might ask?" Hel shrugged. "Everyone." "And what are they saying?" "No one talks to me," Hel said, sullen. "I listen, though, always. I hear your name, but little else. The Aesir, the Vanir, they sound angry." Sigyn nodded, then turned her face up, pretending to study the serpent so Hel wouldn't see her smile. "I think they might be." "Why?" "For being a good wife to your father." Hel frowned. "I don't understand." "I do. I think I have from the beginning," Sigyn said. Hel didn't say anything or ask what Sigyn meant. Mysteries didn't interest her, or much of anything below the surface of a matter. Sigyn considered that one of Hell's few virtues. Sigyn's bowl was almost full, and, as she had thousands of times before, she got up to empty it. And like thousands of times before, Loki twisted in rage and agony in his fetters as the poison, unimpeded, dripped onto his breast. The earth shook. His strength grows along with his madness, she thought. I'll have to be more careful. Sigyn hurried, but not as much as she could have. It wasn't Thor's day and hadn't been for some time. This day had a different feel to it. Woden's day. Someone was coming to visit, too. Thor didn't come on a Thor's day. Who might come on a Woden's day? Sigyn didn't know. Yet so used to her surroundings she was that even a slight change, anywhere, that affected that sameness stood out like a blazing beacon. Something was different today. Someone would visit her. She knew it. It was Woden. He appeared suddenly, as he was wont to do, wherever he went, his floppy traveler's hat pulled low over his face, though now he wasn't wearing it. And on his own day, how oddly appropriate, Sigyn thought. And nothing else. She wasn't even surprised, really. She just waited patiently while her bowl of poison kept filling. Sigyn, he said. There was a reflection on his face, a reddish cast as if he were illuminated by torches. Only there were no torches there, just the unchanging weird light of that deep place. Little else seemed godlike about him. By appearances, he might have been an itinerant tradesman. "Oh, Father, welcome. Forgive me for not rising." Woden glanced at Loki's bound form. "Still suffering, I see." "As you wished." Woden shook his head. The phantom light was lost in the blackness where his right eye used to be. "I did not want this. I wanted my son back." There was an unspeakable weariness on his face. Sigyn hadn't seen him for a very long time, but seemed to remember that he looked tired then, too. "I speak to Hel of that now and again," Sigyn said. "She just looks at me and asks after her father. I don't think she quite understands the connection." "Oh, I think she does, more or less," Woden said. "Then why doesn't she just let Baldur go?" "Because she made a bargain. We did not fulfill the terms. Because of Loki, my husband." Woden looked back at the tightly bound trickster god. "Yes, all because of him. The death, then the loss. All of it. So you killed my sons to punish the father, and the circle is completed, and here we are again. I had 2 of them, did I not? Sons? I seem to recall you turned one of them into a wolf to rend the other." Woden frowned. "That does not matter. It was done." Sigyn let out a sigh. "Fate again? It's how we answer everything." Woden looked at her. "You could release the poison, Sigyn." "Well, what sort of wife would I be then? How would I serve fate betraying my nature?" "You refuse?" He didn't sound angry or disappointed. He just sounded tired. "How can I do other than what I must do, as you did? Aren't we all bound to the rock, All-Father, in our own way?" Woden didn't answer. In another moment he was gone. Sigyn turned to empty the bowl, and again, for a time, the earth shook. Sigyn watched her bowl, wondering who the visitor would be that day. It wasn't Woden's day, or Thor's day, or Freya's day. Not that the day dictated, but Sigyn still liked to look for connections. There was little else to do but hold the bowl of poison and think. She had done this for a long time. Memory faded, but thought did not. It remembered the purpose, if very little of the reason, for all that Sigyn had done since that black day so long ago. It was enough. 3 visitors that day. 3 hooded crones with faces mostly hidden by cowls blacker than night. "Greetings, Loki's wife," they said, as if there was only one voice among them. "The Sister Norns, greetings. This is an unexpected honor." "No, it isn't," they said. They seemed perturbed, almost frantic, for all that they moved and spoke very slowly. Sigyn was not perturbed or frantic, and moved even slower than they did. She had reason to be consistent and constant, but seldom had reason to hurry. "Which," she asked, "honor or unexpected?" "You knew we would come. We knew that you would know." Sigyn nodded. "If you say so. For isn't it true that you know everything?" We know what we must know. Sigyn couldn't suppress a smile. Fate rules the fates. This is a strange world. The Norns ignored that. We are tired, Sigyn. Sigyn nodded. As am I. So very tired. People come to visit me here in my loneliness, but they never offer to hold the bowl, even for a moment. I'd take it back, of course. No one but me is bound to hold it. Do they offer? No, they do not. Not even Hel, Loki's own dear daughter. You are angry, they said. Sigyn shrugged. I suppose you could say that. For want of a better word, a more complete word, a word that comes even slightly near describing how I feel, I am indeed angry. It is far past time, they said. Then, please. Please? Please what, good Norns? Silence. I might have guessed then, or perhaps you cannot say it. Woden could, but then Woden would probably have the heart of it worked out by now, as is his nature. He always was clever. You merely know what is and what will be, but when? That's a separate matter, isn't it? You can measure out a mortal life, but that doesn't apply to me, does it? What will happen, but you don't know when any more than I do. Maybe less. Sigyn watched her bowl, nearly full now. Yes, rather less, I believe. It should have ended. They stressed the word, perhaps to make sure that Sigyn understood, but there was no question of that. Sigyn understood perfectly. Our weird decides all. I do what I am fated to do, and so no one may interfere, not even Woden. You knew that. Loki's steadfast and loyal wife. But did anyone know I would be so good at it, so tireless? Did even the Norns know? Silence again. Sigyn nodded in satisfaction. Well, I knew. The moment the Aesir murdered my sons for their silly revenge and bound this damn fool to this rock for being the nithling he is, I knew. Now mankind has turned away from Asgard and Valhalla, and yet we remain. Midgard's serpent and Fenris wolf slumber in their dotage, and yet we remain. It should have ended, the Nord's united voice was a wail of despair. Sigyn just nodded. I know. We're tired, aren't we? Everyone wants Loki to thrash in agony just long enough to break his bonds, to break the circle and begin another, to lead the giants against Asgard and bring Ragnarok. An end to this weariness, this sameness, this suffering. Destiny cannot be cheated. Ragnarok will happen. Yes, but when will the end come? You don't know. I do. Shall I tell you? Silence again. Then, please. Sigyn smiled at them. It ends when I say it ends, and not one moment before. Silence again. After a few moments, the Norns left. Sigyn watched them shuffling slowly away for a bit, then checked her bowl. Close to spilling it was, and she always spilled a little, just a little, herself. She let the serpent do the rest, but not too much, not enough. It was never enough. Sigyn took the bowl away. Once more the earth shook, but only for a little while. Sigyn hurried off to empty the bowl, and despite the weight of the ages, her step was quick and her heart was light. Behind her, Loki groaned, and Sigyn smiled. Coming, husband? This week's story time is The Trickster's Wife, originally published in Realms of Fantasy magazine and later included in The Ogre's Wife, Fairy Tales for Grown-Ups. In a way, this piece is a meditation on the nature and limits of fate. Mostly, however, it's a simple revenge story, using an inevitable fate as the weapon. Almost everyone knows the Norse myth of Sigyn, Loki's wife. For his many crimes, Loki is bound to a rock in a cave where a venomous serpent drips poison on him, causing him to writhe in agony. His faithful and devoted wife catches the venom in a bowl to spare him the pain, but every now and then the bowl has to be emptied, and in that time the venom hits him and his thrashing causes earthquakes. But Sigyn is always there to catch the poison again, even though one day she will spill the bowl and Loki will thrash until he is free of his chains, signaling Ragnarok, the end of the world. I always thought fate handed Sigyn a very raw deal. It occurred to me that perhaps Sigyn thought so too, which puts her activities in an entirely different light, and so the story.